Roll for Crit is brought to you by our Patreon supporters. Come roll with us at patreon.com/rollforcrit. Welcome to Roll for Crit. Today we've got some news stories for you all about board games, role-playing games, across all different mediums. You're not going to want to miss it. That's why you're watching it right now.
Late last year, we discussed a case brought up against Wizards of the Coast by Tracy Hickman and Margaret Weiss, the creators of the Dragonlance series. Wizards of the Coast asked them to write a new trilogy. They did so when Wizards decided to cancel the book series with no explanation. They, of course, sued them for $10 million in reparations, but apparently have voluntarily dropped the case. We do not know why. Wizards nor the authors have mentioned anything about it. However, there are some pretty good guesses. Both authors have tweeted positive notes recently about it, as well as Amazon leaking a Dragonlance book supposedly coming out this July. We also knew Wizards was apparently working on some 5e versions in the Dragonlance world. It's likely we will be seeing the fruits of their labor in both novel and possibly in the 5e world as well.
Yeah, this is an interesting development. It seems like it's a happy ending for both parties, certainly for consumers and fans, that it looks like they will be able to get their hands on that final novel that was meant to come out. So that's encouraging. Hopefully behind the scenes, things are actually going the way everybody likes, and it was a victory for I'm hoping for the Dragonlance creators, and I hope it's not a situation where Wizards of the Coast used their legal might to scare them off, but it seems like that's not the case. And it's like we said, we are seeing some release of what was canceled, which was the whole start of all this to begin with. So if they've rectified that, it seems like the contracts have been fulfilled and everything like that. So I, for once in one of these legal cases, I think everything turned out okay. Would that be your reading of this as well?
Yeah, I would say the biggest evidence to point to is not even the leak, it's the tweets from the authors. Both of them come up, at least to me, positive. It's not just, we have settled the case in some kind of neutral. They're like, we can't say much, but we look forward to it. The one shows a picture of the guy looking very excited with some dice by his elbow, so maybe he's working on some of the RPG stuff. And I mean, maybe this will cost Wizards a bit, but I think in the long term, it's going to be better. People are going to be excited to see this stuff.
It seems like the smarter business decision to just publish a book that's written rather than hold things up over a huge lawsuit that would probably be a pretty big headache for any company.
I would probably agree with you on that most fronts, but the War of the Spark book that they released probably could have been left
well, nobody wanted that book, did they? This is a book people want.
Fair enough.
We have word of 2 brand new TV shows currently in development, both based on tabletop properties. First, a Risk TV show. This one is being developed by Bo Willimon, who was the creator of the American version of House of Cards. So a heavily political show, now being aimed at a political as well as militaristic TV show based on the tabletop area control game of Risk. That's a classic that we all know and perhaps some of us love. And the other TV show in the works is based on Dungeons and Dragons. This one is coming to us from Derek Kolstad, who is the writer and creator of the John Wick film series with Keanu Reeves. Now, both of these we know nothing about other than those creators. We don't know which channels they're going to be launching on. We don't have any idea about casting or anything else, but we can maybe speculate a little bit based on the creators themselves. I think there's a tendency sometimes with these announcements to say, oh, creator of John Wick, so D&D is going to be like a heavy action series with some rogue who goes around shooting everybody.
No, it's literally John Wick.
Right.
They're just dressing him up in fantasy clothes.
And I'm guessing that's probably not what it's really going to be. It's, I'm sure that this guy has plenty of other different types of stories and styles that he's capable of. But I don't know. Any thoughts on it? It's so vague. We have so little to go on. But thoughts on either of these?
Well, I would say the Dungeons and Dragons, because of, the nature of role-playing games, he really could do anything. So yes, I'm sure there's going to be some kind of action stuff. It's going to be what some people want to see, but I mean, I could easily see there being political drama and intrigue and stuff, something like that. I mean, hell, there's even a little bit of it in John Wick. If you think about it, there's a lot of weird relationships with the groups he deals with.
There you
And
go.
as for the Risk one, that one is like all I can imagine is some kind of military drama. The only thing I can think of that make it different and maybe Risk-like is somehow when they're about to go to battle, you just see 2 dice roll on screen, and that actually decides to like, we had 20 cannons. There had 2 people there. How did we keep losing?
It does
Like, I don't
seem-
know what you do if it's not the legacy version.
I mean, even then, the thing about Risk is the theme is so generic that saying you're making a Risk movie is the same thing as saying you're making a war movie.
Right.
You know,
Like, I don't know what you do. Like, Legacy at least had like factions and stuff that could have been more interesting.
I guess.
But I don't know what you do except maybe like the final story arc, Australia.
Yeah. I mean, I think it will hopefully just be an entertaining military drama that just happens to be called Risk, right? I think that's
Yeah, I mean that's what it has to be.
Well,
Assuming we're going with old Risk.
we will see. We'll find out when these presumably, if I had to guess, will go to some streaming service, maybe an Amazon or a Netflix. We'll find out, or if they even make it past the development stage. For all we know, these will get canceled before their time comes. We'll just have to stay tuned to find out.
We may be all stuck inside, and not just because of the cold weather, but that hasn't stopped board game companies from entering the digital space to hold their own conventions. We've got 2 new digital conventions for you to check out. First off, we have PortalCon that'll be happening, well, this Saturday. This is, of course, we'll be announcing all the new Portal releases for 2021. And in addition, as a little bonus, if you're awake early in the morning, depending on where you are, maybe it's later, we will be doing a live stream during that time starting 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So definitely come check us out for that. In addition, Renegade is holding another digital convention, and this one, of course, will have plenty of demos, some live shows, so you'll be able to try out their games and RPGs. That will be February 12th to the 14th. So if you want to try out any Renegade products, you can check them out digitally then. I like these digital conventions and the fact that we get to see small companies too. So if there's a company you do like, you can just zone in on them when they have their dates. So I think it's a plus.
Yeah, we've enjoyed them so far. I'm looking forward to getting a better look at the Snallygaster situation, the Kids on Bikes game, as well as the partner to that one that's based on Kids on Brooms. And of course, for Portal, like you said, we're doing a live reaction to the keynote, which should be really exciting. We talked already about some good Portal games coming up in 2021 in our 2021 preview video. So to learn that there's even more stuff on the way, I'm excited because they are one of our favorite companies. So that should be fun. Definitely, I hope people tune in and check it out.
Hopefully, it will go better than the Fancy Flight live stream we did during last Gen Con.
Yeah, there are some technical troubles there. And now some controversy in the board game world. A few key figures have gotten in some trouble for some of their remarks and things that they have written, and some board game publishers have come out and responded to those things. Daniele Tascini, designer of games like The Voyages of Marco Polo and Sulkin and Teotihuacan, made some derogatory remarks against Black people. I'm not going to repeat them or go into it in depth, but you can find them online. You can read it for yourself. He actually posted them in his native language of Italian. They have been translated, and people were not happy with the response in a fair and expected way, I would say. In fact, Board and Dice, publisher of Teotihuacan, has stated that while they will continue to honor any withstanding contracts they have with him, they will not be looking at any of his designs in the future. In spite of an apology that he made, they stated that it was not sincere enough, did not go far enough for them, and they are cutting ties. Then we are going to move along to another game designer, Phil Eklund. Eklund has worked on games like PAX Pamir and PAX Renaissance with Sierra Madre Games and their parent company, Ion Game Design. And he has often included footnotes or essays alongside some of these works that have something to do with the science or history that they are based in. And some of those have been surfacing for a while that are controversial, things like a defense of British colonialism, some sketchy takes on global warming and climate change. And now Ion Game Design has said that while they will continue to publish some of the works they have with him, they will not be including any more of his footnotes or writings that accompany those games. They will be working extra hard to fact check some of that stuff. And as if that wasn't enough people getting in trouble in the last week of the board game industry, on the subject, there was a discussion on Facebook somewhere. Phil Eklund was posting about what was going on and lamenting the fact that people were coming after him. And there was some negative debate, including a post from John DeBoer, who is the head of Fun Again Games. And Watch It Played actually posted out on Twitter highlighting this and saying they would no longer be having any dealings with Fun Again Games as a result of this negative interaction that he had. So one controversy befalls another, and I guess sort of is highlighting maybe some other bad behaviors that are currently going on in the industry. This is something we've seen plenty of it in the past few years in all mediums, and even in board games. This isn't the first time we've seen designers getting in trouble for things like this. It is a little troubling that so many are happening so close to each other already this early in 2021. It doesn't bode well to me for the rest of the year. But, personally, I think that these companies have every right to cut ties, and I think they're going about it in a healthy way. And hopefully this, I think this kind of thing is important to talk about and to make sure other designers and publishers are thinking about these things and ideally not being racist just in general or anything related to that, but also being more vigilant about that kind of content in the games that they're making.
Yeah. I think 2021 already made it clear in its first week that we're not quite done with things yet. And we probably shouldn't expect things like this to just disappear and be good in, a blink of an eye. So we still have quite a ways to go, but it's a good start, as you said,
Yeah.
being better about checking up on these things and fact checking, when people make comments or link to questionable sources.
Yeah. It's just a little weird. It's just a little unnecessary for some things. And of course, for you at home, you can choose what you want to buy and who you want to support and how you want to spend your dollars. So it is a great thing to just be aware of these types of things and do some research into it before you go buying stuff. We'll leave you off with a handful of new game releases that are available at retail right now. First up, you've got Bees with a Z, a competitive game from the people behind Azul. And in this one, you're trying to get nectar and complete different goals by getting the right types of nectar at the right times before your opponents can complete their goals. After that, we have Cantaloupe, Book 1, Breaking into Prison. This is a point-and-click adventure-style game book where you'll be exploring a narrative, looking at colorful artwork, and deciding what you want to explore, collecting items along the way, and deciphering codes. Then we have Cloud Age. Cloud Age is sort of set in a Mad Max-esque desert apocalypse world, but instead of cool cars, you have airships, and you're taking those airships out in order to collect resources and upgrade your crew and try to survive better than anybody else can in an inhospitable desert world. Five Nights at Freddy's has a new game. It's called Five Nights at Freddy's Survive Till 6 a.m. It's from Funkoverse, and it uses the same premise as that game. You're trying to survive in a Chuck E. Cheese-like place with terrifying animatronics coming after you without running out of battery power. This one has a solo mode as well as a two-player mode. Seastead is the inverse of the premise of Cloud Age. This time you're in a world of water, and you are diving, competing for resources so you can build buildings. The twist here is that once you go diving for some resources, the resources that you don't take are going to be given to your opponent. So you have to decide which ones are better for you and what you want to keep your opponent from getting at the same time. Treasure Island is a competitive map treasure hunting game wherein you are actually using a dry erase sheet in order to look around and try to narrow down where a treasure is buried. Now there's a new expansion, Captain Silver Revenge Island, which includes some new maps as well as some new special powers for Long John Silver to attempt to outsmart all the other pirates and keep the treasure to himself. And as a bonus, there are also a couple of books coming out of Asmodee's Aconite publishing line, a new Arkham horror novel titled Mask of Silver, and one based in the Marvel Universe. This one is Legends of Asgard, The Sword of Surtur.
In terms of those releases, I know I was a big fan of Treasure Island, and regardless of its very silly name, I really want to try out this expansion. I think it sounds cool. Though the other two games you brought up, the C1 and the Cloudscape,
Cloud
remember
Age,
that?
yeah.
Cloud Age. Those sound pretty cool as well.
Yeah, they both look pretty strong. Seastead I've been seeing for a while. That's from WizKids, and Cloud Age is from Alexander Pfister, who has done some pretty good games before. Definitely both have very cool designs. Of course, Cantaloupe I've been talking about for a while now, it seems, because that's the kind of thing that I really like. I'm interested to see how that works exactly. And Bees looked fun too. It's got a Z in it, so I'm a big fan of that. Hey, if you're watching this right now, talk to us in the comments section. Tell us what games you might be picking up this week, and what are your thoughts on all these different news stories? Some controversial topics, so keep it civil in the comments if you would. But if you also just want to talk about the frivolous ones, like what a Risk TV show might entail, do that below.
Which Risk version should they use? We're not counting it like Mass Effect Risk. We're talking about like the more like Risk 2021 or like the God. There's like a mythology one. I can't remember the exact name.
Yeah.
What should they do? Or just classic.
Right. Yeah. What do you think? Talk to us down there. Until then, thanks for watching. I'm Jonathan.
I'm Will.
This was Roll for Crit.
Catch the latest from Roll for Crit by liking and subscribing and supporting us on Patreon.
You're not a hidden traitor, are you? Come on, like us.